Welcome to the Synopsis. In this series, we bring you books in brief, short summaries of the greatest books of our time that you've always wanted to read. In the next few minutes, we'll discuss what makes these books so influential.
Have you ever wondered, how did we get here? It's a loaded question, I know. Hey there, Ahalya here with another engaging summary of a wildly popular book on the Synopsis. And today we're tackling a very unknown book. Just kidding. A book that is nothing short of revolutionary, really. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, released in 2011 by Israeli historian Yuval Noah Harari. Since its release, the book has been a permanent fixture on bestseller lists, and everyone you know has either read it or is planning on reading it. It celebrates human achievement in our short time on planet Earth and the rapid scientific advancements we're making. No other species has come close to dominating the planet to the degree that Homo sapiens have. And that brings us back to the question I began with today. How did this even happen? In his book, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, Harari gives us an explanation of this giant leap. So let's get into it, shall we? The first idea that Harari touches upon is this. Homo sapiens have replaced all other human species on Earth. Humans first appeared 2.5 million years ago in East Africa. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, first appeared 300,000 years ago. Homo sapiens was not particularly special. For example, Neanderthals used fire even before Homo sapiens emerged. Yet, Homo sapiens became the dominant species globally while all the other human species died out. Why? Well, Harari says there are two theories to explain this. The interbreeding theory claims that Homo sapiens began mating with the other species of humans, like Neanderthals, which resulted in the two species merging together. The DNA of modern Europeans contains between 1 and 4% Neanderthal DNA, as well as some DNA from other earlier human species. The other theory, the replacement theory, claims that Homo sapiens benefited from superior skills and technology and pushed other human species toward extinction, either by taking away their food sources or killing them off. Harari says Homo sapiens probably did both. They drove the other species toward annihilation and also interbred with them. Taking from that, we arrive at the second point. Homo sapiens had a unique advantage, the structure of our brain. About 70,000 years ago, the brain of early modern humans went through an evolutionary leap called the cognitive revolution. This gave Homo sapiens a relatively sudden improvement in brain power, and they were able to outperform their rivals. They formed more sophisticated communities, invented complex hunting tools and techniques, and established trade networks. Homo sapiens could now find food and resources even in the harshest environments, unlike the other species. They spread out to Europe, Asia, America, and Australia. And as they progressed, they left a trail of extinctions. 50,000 years ago, Australia was inhabited by a multitude of big land mammals, ground sloths that were 20 feet tall, and armadillos the size of small vans. Within a couple thousand years of Homo sapiens' arrival, the vast majority of these animals were gone. But what is that one distinguishing factor that led to this superiority? Well, Harari suggests that it could be complex language. Complex language gave Homo sapiens great advantages. Bees can cooperate in large numbers, but their hierarchy cannot adapt to changes in their environment. Chimpanzees can cooperate more flexibly, but only in small numbers. The only animal that can cooperate flexibly and in large numbers is Homo sapiens. Human language is more complex and intricate when compared to the communication of other species. We share information about the physical world, as well as discuss abstract ideas like gods, history, and rights. These common myths are creations of the human brain. They're crucial to human culture and allow us to cooperate in large groups even when we don't know everyone personally. By sharing these common myths around religion or identity or freedom, we create communities. Moving on, Harari talks about the idea that with the agricultural revolution, we became farmers and had population growth. Around 12,000 years ago, an agricultural revolution saw Homo sapiens cultivating crops and domesticating animals. Within 10,000 years, almost all Homo sapiens settled into agriculture. Harari says the change to agriculture was gradual. With each generation, the process became more societally ingrained, and by the time historians uncovered the downsides of farming, it was too late to turn turn back. Secondly, agriculture was more efficient. On just a small patch of land, farmers could grow a mass of edible plants. Increased food supplies meant human societies could sustain higher and higher populations. And so, the Homo sapiens population exploded. And from crops and trade, we arrive at money. Humans invented money and writing to facilitate trade. Agriculture enabled people to produce enough food for the community. So some people developed new trades like blacksmithing and weaving. In order to get food, they traded their products, say a knife or some other tool, with farmers who needed them. As such trade grew, it became harder to find someone whose goods you wanted and who wanted what you're offering in return. So around 3000 BC, Homo sapiens developed writing and money. The Sumerians of Mesopotamia were the first to do this. In order to store the information needed for complex trades, they began etching people's transactions on clay tablets using economic symbols. They started using barley money as a standardized method of payment. They were able to pay a farmer in a currency easily convertible into whatever else he might need. Do you see it all sort of coming together now? Well, this is where it really gets interesting. Empires and religion pushed us towards unification. As societies and economies grew, they became difficult to control. So we developed laws to regulate how people behaved and systems of authority to ensure that people obeyed them. And thus, the first hierarchical societies were born, with a king or emperor at the top. Those monarchies and empires provided political, social, and economic stability. The Hammurabi Code, a collection of laws issued by the Babylonian king Hammurabi in 1776 BC, made it clear what was allowed and what was not within his empire's borders. In order to enforce such laws, emperors and kings needed people to accept their authority. This was accomplished using religion. If people accepted that the ruler was placed at the top by the will of God, they would be far more accepting of imperial rule. As empires spread, these religions grew in power, sometimes by force, sometimes by assimilation. Imperial rule managed to gather many diverse ethnic and religious groups into a few mega cultures. And just like we had the agricultural revolution, there was the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution paved the way for new technologies, imperialism, and economic growth. In the 16th and 17th centuries, a scientific revolution swept through Europe. They made huge leaps in areas like medicine, astronomy, and physics, which made society a better place to live. This proved to be good for economies, a fact that many European governments were quick to realize. In search of new ideas and resources to enrich their nations, kings and emperors showered scientists and explorers with money. European economies grew as a result of exploration and scientific innovation. Unfortunately, those gains in Europe came largely at the cost of many indigenous populations around the world, something we know now. So in some sense, it would be right to say that today's global society is a legacy of European imperialism. Harari claims that thanks to the European empires, people worldwide believe in the importance and power of money. Most people's lives are centered around money and material possessions. We all want to maximize our incomes or display our wealth with clothes and gadgets. Now, this next thought may come as a surprise to all of you. It definitely came as a surprise to me. And that is that humankind has never been more peaceful than in our globalized times. Seems kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it? Well, it's been estimated that before farming, in the times of hunter-gatherers, 30% of all adult males died due to murder or manslaughter. Today, only 1% of adult male deaths are violent. Modern nations depend on each other for their prosperity. In a globalized world, trade and investment stretch across many different countries. A war or instability in one area will have secondary economic effects for all. We can relate to that now, right? As a result, almost all American, European, and Asian leaders take a very strong interest in maintaining world peace. And it largely works. Just consider how violent the world was before the end of the Second World War, and it becomes clear how peaceful our globalized world is today. And finally, we arrive at the last idea. In the future, Homo sapiens will transcend biological limits, eventually replacing itself with an entire new species. Something out of a sci-fi movie, but apparently a reality we are all going to have to face, and a scary one at that. Scientists are currently making huge strides in fields like bionic technology and anti-aging. Bionics, the merging of human with machine, have shown impressive advances. For example, when Jesse Sullivan, an American American electrician lost both his arms, scientists were able to provide him with new bionic ones that he could operate using his thoughts and nervous system. Scientists also found a way to double the lifespan of certain worms by altering their genetics. They are close to doing the same with mice as well. Eventually, they should be able to bring that to humans. Harari says the projects to halt aging and develop bionic technology are part of the Gilgamesh Project, the huge scientific quest to discover eternal life. It is possible that in the not-so-distant future, we Homo sapiens will change our bodies so drastically through science that we'll no longer technically count as Homo sapiens. Rather, we will become a completely new species, half organic, half machine. Harari declares that it is only a matter of when, not if. And with that, we conclude our summary of Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Israeli historian Yuval Noah Harari on the Synopsis with me, Ahalya.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Synopsis, powered by Timber Media.